Hello and welcome to the Justice Factor in 2014. 4 people have now died in Mpumelelo in the northwest following protests in the settlement last week. They died for something many of us take for granted. They wanted water. Why wasn't clean water provided to them in the first place? Minister of Water Affairs Edna Malala joins me today and she will tell us why people have to die before they get water in a free South Africa. After that discussion, we'll give you our winner and loser of the week. But first, I'm joined by Mpumelelo Mkhabela, editor of the Sowetan, to discuss the top news stories of the week, and we start with this.
What I saw there was not a problem of coaching, was a bunch of losers who don't have got any respect for this country, have got any respect for anybody. I saw a team that was South African in the second half, fighting to win. 2 useless goals. I mean, Nigeria was shocked. I saw their coach starting to stand up. He couldn't believe. They thought that they are going to meet the Lions, whose stadium was very filled to capacity to come and fight for their own country. But what did they come to meet? Just a bunch of unbearable, useless individuals.
I don't know why. I don't know. Mpumelelo Mkhabela, help me here. I don't know why people are angry. I mean, these guys, Bafana, have been losing again and again and again. We haven't ever made it. And the minister says they're a bunch of losers. I totally agree, don't you?
Well, the minister is correct in his assessment, but the language that he's using is undiplomatic. But perhaps many South Africans would agree with him, given the anger around the national team. Many people have divorced themselves from Bafana for some time and several times. But it's a national team, Justice, and people always go back. They love their country. They want the national colors to fly high.
Mpumelelo Mkhabela, your newspaper, the Sowetan, is well known in this country as being a football. You know, if you love football, you read the Sowetan. And you know what? When I read the letters pages and the people who are tweeting on your website and so forth, talking about Bafana, they don't want to be diplomatic. They must be happy that this minister is saying something for once without using diplomatic language.
I think our readers will fully agree with the sentiments expressed by the minister. All I'm saying is that the language that he's using, I think, is overboard for somebody in that position.
What's so overboard about
I think to say individuals are useless and to say they're a bunch of losers and all manner of description, I think that's the kind of language we would use in shebeens when we discuss soccer and all of that. But I don't think you would expect that from a high-ranking minister. But the sentiments that he have said.
What should he have said here? They lost 3-1 on their home turf. They've consistently failed to qualify for any meaningful competition. We only make it onto competitions because we're hosting them, basically.
No, don't get me wrong. The sentiments that he expressed, I think the whole nation is behind him. But the language he's using, I think, is completely unprofessional.
Do you want him punished for that language?
Well, no, he's got freedom of speech. We can debate the language that he's using, but yeah, I don't think that there's need to be punishment.
What do you think about him going for individual players like the goalkeeper? Is it Munib, the goalkeeper, saying, "Oh, you know, what was he doing?" and so forth? I thought that was a bit harsh, even for me.
I think he's correct because his starting point is that this has least to do or nothing to do with the coach. This is to do with the players. The players have failed to show character. And I think he's not the first politician to raise a concern along those lines. I think former President Thabo Mbeki did raise a concern to say our national team, when they're in the field, they don't seem to be competitive. You don't get a sense that these are people who want to die in the field on behalf of the country. You get a sense that these are people who are there lazing around, no structure, no format, there's no creativity, no skill. I think from that point of view, the minister's anger and frustration, he carries the sentiment of the nation, but it's just the words that he's using that are, I think, wrong.
Can I play a devil's advocate and say, though, it's one thing to say we need to do this, but where's the development that he is supposed to implement? Where, I saw him swanning around with Money Mayweather this weekend, and it was all fun and games and so forth. And I'm not sure that he's actually done anything meaningful since 2010, the World Cup, to make sure that kids in Hammanskraal and Mpumelelo and other places actually get to play soccer and get into the national team.
You are quite correct, but if you look at the budget of the Department of Sports, it's very minuscule. There's very little you can do. that department is like basically run like an NGO.
Maybe he should use undiplomatic language to go to Pravin Gordhan and say, look at this. This is how nations fail. We want more money.
Well, maybe what we should be arguing is that before the president expanded the cabinet, he should have looked at whether those departments that were there in the first place were well resourced, and then use the money, instead of expanding cabinet, use the money to channel it to those departments which, like sports, which are under-resourced. He has spoken a lot, Minister Mbalula, about sports development at schools and all things like that. But clearly, he has no money. That's the only department that doesn't have huge budgets for tenders and things like that. So he, as you can see through the visit by the American boxer, that he also likes, he's a flamboyant minister. He wants to be there with the celebrities. But I think that's not helping his cause in the public eye.
I always wonder when people bring out a convicted wife, women batterers into the country, whether it's for the sport or it's against the sport. Let's talk about something more serious. Labour. AMCU says it's going on strike on Thursday. The NUM, where's the NUM?
Well, the NUM is around, but is under pressure, is sucked up into the politics of COSATU and the divisions that are going on there, and the whole chaos in the tripartite alliance. But I think that there was a deal that they had wanted to sign with Northam and other mining companies around 6 to 7%. But AMCU, as you know, is sticking its guns around the 12,500 rand per month.
Should I blame them for asking for 12,500 when the CEO of Lonmin, and I was listening to a radio show right now, the CEO of Lonmin earned 23 million rand in the year before Marikana?
Well, sentimentally, it's difficult to blame the workers. I mean, you can also cite the BEE deal of Goldfields, where certain politicians and certain former convicted criminals benefited, and their friends benefited from that deal. And you can ask yourself, where were the workers when those deals were struck? So there are so many questions you can ask, especially given the inequality in our country, which the government has committed itself to tackle. Politicians get all sorts of increases despite recommendations by independent panels saying you shouldn't get increases. And the workers, of course, will also say, we also want our share, which is very unfortunate, by the way, if the strike is to happen, because the rand now is at its weakest in a very long time. That allows our exports to be very competitive. Now, if production is going to be stalled at the mines, what it means is that we can't take advantage of the situation around the rand.
Mpumelelo Mkhabela, thanks so much for your time and your insights. Always fascinating talking to you.
Thank you.
After the break, we ask Minister of Water Affairs, Edna Molewa, what she intends to do to make sure that people never run short of water again.
News that moves. eNCA.com.